Who of us here walked to work today? Who here drove to work today? Well, both of us have engaged in wearing our polymers or using polymers in our vehicles, either the polyurethane in our soles of our shoes or the vulcanized rubber in the tires of our cars. What is a polymer? A polymer is a material consisting of very large molecules called macromolecules, which are composed of many repeating subunits, shown here in this diagram. Humans and polymers have interact on a daily basis around the globe. Today in this talk, I'm going to talk about polymers in the past, polymers in the future, and polymers at the present. Polymers in the past developed from Mesoamerican societies in the 16th century BCE, where they utilized rubber balls for games, rubber shoes for running, and rubber bowls for kitchen utensils. We even see how this is integrated into the world today in sports like basketball and sprinters when they use it for running. In modern antiquity, people used to utilize polymers such as silk and cotton for clothing to shield them from the elements. And at the advent of the Industrial Revolution, vulcanized rubber transformed the automotive industry, nylon stockings transformed the clothing industry, PVC piping surrounds our buildings that we're in today, and even DNA is polymeric in nature. Thus, we have polymers inside us as well. 381 million metric tons of plastics were produced in 2018, and this has only grown larger and larger due to our demand. How are we mitigating this demand and investigating new polymers that are more environmentally friendly? Well, we're limiting our reliance on single-use plastics. We see this by plastic bag bans in stores around Philadelphia. Researchers are now developing systems to depolymerize plastics to close that plastic loop. And researchers like ourselves are developing plastic that can serve people for a longer time and for a cheaper cost. Today, we're going to talk about polymers that have cyclic topology. And what does cyclic topology on a polymer mean? Well, I'm going to make an analogy to spaghetti and SpaghettiOs. Both taste the same, but one has chain ends and one is continuous. It's cyclic. Why are we interested in these cyclic polymers, one might ask? Well, there's no end groups, which allow for stronger and more compact polymers. This also leads to differences in physical properties, such as density, refractive index, surface properties, and glass transition temperatures. We can boil this down into two main factors: in materials applications and in biological settings. In materials, we see polymers that are cyclic self-assemble into thin films that are more packedly tight together compared to their linear analogs. While on the bottom section of the slide, we see that biological polymers, when cyclic polymers self-assemble into solution, they form more compact, tight micelles than their linear polymer analogs. How do we make these cyclic polymers? That's a very important question to ask. There's two main methods in the world right now. There's ring closure, which is applicable to many monomers, but it requires highly dilute conditions and tedious multi-step procedures to enforce chains to cyclize at the end of the reaction. We can also utilize ring expansion polymerization to generate cyclic polymers. Now, this doesn't require high dilutions, but it's limited to cyclic monomers and initiators, which increase the cost of the overall polymerization and thus prevents its scalability. Other ongoing issues in the world exist with costly synthesis of starting materials, harmful and toxic reagents, and that precious metals are needed to perform this catalysis. Here at the University of Pennsylvania, we have designed a streamlined approach to accessing these cyclic polymers through a salt metathesis reaction, where we lose salts such as sodium chloride. So very simple, easy, and safe for us to work with. When we generate these catalysts on the titanium, vanadium, or iron metal centers, and these are cheap, abundant metals, we can see the polymerization of alkynes, shown here on the left, to cyclic conjugated polymers. So improvements of this system is that it's an easy synthesis, salt is the only byproduct, it uses cheap, non-toxic metals, and it gives us a real easy access to these cyclic conjugated polymers. This is my favorite video from grad school thus far. We see our catalyst in solution, and we're going to add an excess of monomer to show the polymerization. And you're going to see a stark color change here, indicating polymers are formed. Yeah, that's really cool. I smile every time I see that. So why are we targeting these cyclic conjugated polymers? Well, they can be easily modified to more commercially relevant materials, such as commercial plastics, conductive polymers, and bottle brush polymers. When we hydrogenate, add hydrogen across these carbon-carbon double bonds, we generate commercially relevant polymers, such as polystyrene, so styrofoam. We can also generate polypropylene and polyethylene that have cyclic topology. In the figure shown here, we see that increasing the hydrogen content turns this material from red to white. And what we've seen in the physical properties of these systems is that it has enhanced thermal stability. So these polymers can exist as polymers at higher temperatures for longer times. We can also make these polymers conductive by doping them, generating an electron and hole pair. And what this looks like is the linear polymer. Oh, I guess everything moved away. But the linear polymer has chain ends, so the electron and hole can recombine, generate energy that dissipates, losing overall conductivity, while cyclic polymers have electrons and holes that revolve around and don't recombine. This allows for enhanced conductivity for cyclic polymers over their linear analog. And this is able to generate valuable conductive polymers that can be used in electronic skin applications, in supercapacitors, and in semiconductors. These polymers can also be utilized as bottle brush polymers, which can be used in biomedical therapeutics, lubrication materials, and elastomeric gels, as they pack tighter together in thin films and in solution. So to end my talk, polymers and humans have coexisted for eons. Let us let sustainable science guide our next direction. Thank you.